name is Kaylin, and I am on the product team here at SimpleConsign. I started out actually as a customer of SimpleConsign, working in store at a multi-location consignment store out in Atlanta, Georgia, before I moved over to SimpleConsign's side of things. And over the years, I've been through a variety of departments, but I've landed in product. And my job is to improve the system, make it as good for y'all's needs as I can, and listen to customer feedback, essentially. So today we're going to talk about Consignor Access and what that feature can do for you and your store. The function of Consignor Access is, and everyone can see my screen, I hope. Yes, okay. The function of Consignor Access is to essentially take a load of questions that your consignors or your vendors, depending on your store type, may call in and ask your employees about, and kind of shifts those questions over to something that they can self-help with. So Consignor Access is our portal. It allows your consignors or your vendors, depending on which terminology you use, to log in directly and see a variety of different information about their account. And you have some fine-tuned control over what it is that they can see. So let's first talk about which plans Consignor Access is available on. It's available on our standard plan as well as our professional plan. And we'll talk about the difference in the features between those two plans as well. So if we go into settings, I'm going to go to my locations tab, scratch that. I'm going to go to my options tab. I'm going to collapse general and come down here to Consignor Access. And this is in my pro location. So these are pro plan features. And in Consignor Access settings, I can see that I have the ability to enter in a URL. I'm blessed with a rather unique name, so I've just used that for my URL and my test store here. And on the pro plan, you have the ability to add some white labeling. So you can do custom logos, custom icons. And then you have all of these settings to control what information is visible in your version of Consignor Access. You control this on a location by location basis. So if you have two different store types, you can have your settings set differently for each location. So we've got different pages, and I'm going to flip over to Consignor Access here so that you can see. We have our dashboard page. This is where you can view balance information, store credit, and if you have any messages for your message board, you can set them up here. We'll cover that in just a moment. You can see the sales activity page. So this is information about what items have sold, and you have some control over what information displays here. You've got your item screen. So this lets your consignors or vendors see what information has been entered into their account, what's available for sale right now. And some of these settings are going to be specifically pro plan settings targeted towards vendor malls. So if you're a traditional consignment store, you don't have to worry about that. Item entry and batch entry. These are both vendor mall style settings that allow your vendors to enter their own inventory. We'll touch on that a little bit later as well. And you can display your contract. We've recently added this What's New section so that we can communicate directly with Consignor Access users when we make changes to help remove some of that burden of communicating the change to the store and then for the store to communicate it to your consignors and vendors. So now we're communicating those changes to both groups directly. So now that we've seen all of these pages that are available in Consignor Access, let's go back to our settings and show activity page. So you don't have to show the activity page, that sales history page, unless you want to. If you don't want to show it, you simply uncheck it and the option for view level completely disappears. If you do want to view or show the activity page, you can choose between basic and detailed. Basic hides information, for example, like the amount that the item sold for, and instead shows just the amount that your consignor received. This is a great option for a traditional consignment store who doesn't want to be nitpicked over the price that the item sold at, but does want to communicate how much money is on their account and where that money came from, which item sales. If you go to detailed, which is good for certain types of traditional consignment stores, but also, I have to hit save. Let me hit save. But is also good for vendor malls. you can see additional information here. So you can see how much the consignor received. You can see any fees or adjustments that have been removed off of that. That's pretty much any negative value you're going to see as a fee or adjustment, as well as any manual account adjustments, things like that. Again, this view is more targeted towards vendor malls, but I have seen traditional consignment stores use it as well. Going back to our settings, let's go settings, options, consignor access. You have the same options for your items page. If you don't want to show the items in their account, you don't have to. But if you do choose it, you have the option between basic and detailed. And similarly, detailed is a good fit for vendor malls or for traditional consignment stores that want to give as much information as possible. Basic is a good view to pair with basic activity view. And the reason being that if we come over here, you'll notice, let's sort this way. You'll notice that the amount that the item is priced at is not listed. When it's in detailed view, you can see all of that information about the item. In basic, it shows you which items are listed in the account, but not how much. So again, if you don't want to be giving your consignors access to that information, you don't have to. Settings, options, consignor access. And this is not typically the workflow that you'd go through in order to configure consignor access. We're going in and out of the settings so I can show you the differences. But usually you'd go through and set all of these settings once and then not have to touch them again. So once you've decided about your activity and items page, level of detail and whether you want to display them, you can choose which statuses of items you want to be displayed. Some stores convert inventory to store-owned property at the end of the consignment period. If you don't want to show those items, you can uncheck this box and converted status items will be hidden from your consignor accounts. Same idea with donated, missing, unavailable, damaged, and expired. Depending on your store's policies, how you have everything configured, you can choose whether you want to show or hide these statuses to your consignors. Let's go take a look at our basic plan, not basic, excuse me, standard plan, and see what the difference is for consignor access. So here you'll notice that I also have a URL. I have to make it different because it's a different location. And so it's Kalen1 instead of just regular Kalen. And then I've got that white labeling. And then I've got all of these options as well. The big difference is you'll notice that there's none of those settings down here that reference dealers. And that's because on the Pro plan, you have the option, again, targeted towards vendor malls, where your vendors or dealers, depending on the terminology, can add their own inventory, withdraw, edit, or print their own labels. And so this is a location-based setting. You can fine-tune these 4 options further on the individual consignor or vendor accounts. All right, that was a lot of information. Does anyone have any questions so far? Are items with in grace status always shown along with the active? Yes. So in grace refers to our option up here where you have a grace period. So the way that that works is that your items have, let's see, based off of this store, 360. Let's change that. Let's make that a little bit more realistic. 90 days. Oops. 90 days before they expire. And at the end of those 90 days, they'll hit their grace period and change to in grace status. So if you have anything entered here, this is their grace period. And so after 100 days, they would shift into either expired or converted. But yes, in grace status during that grace period will still display in consignor access. Good question, Christy. So that's a good way for people to be able to see that their items are ready for them to pick up. That's typically what we see people use that in grace period for is, hey, you've reached the end of your expire period. Now you have 10, 14, however many days to come by and pick up your things. If you want to see when your items are in that status, please log on to Consignor Access and check your account. You can view that information. All right. So the next step, once you've picked out your URL and set up your settings, is to send out invites to everyone. You can do that in bulk using the Send Invitations button. This will send everyone who has Consignor Access enabled an invite. I would recommend only doing this when you're kicking off the feature at the very beginning. As you're adding people into the system and you want to invite them on a case-by-case basis, you'll do that instead from the profile. So if we save and exit, and let's go Christian Anderson here. So in here, you can see we have our Consignor Access option enabled for this account. You want to make sure that that is enabled, and you need an email address entered as well. This is so we can send the invite to the Consignor Access account. Once you have both of those entered, you want to save the profile and then send Consignor Access invite. Once we do that, an email will be sent to this email on file, and it will have information needed to log in, like a quick link to get them where they need to go. Their consignor ID is their username, and their password is displayed in their consignor profile until the user goes through and changes it themselves. This enables you to help them log in for that very first time. But if we go back and we log into Consignor Access, so let's go to kaylin.consignoraccess.com. You'll notice that it tried to auto log me back into the account that I was already in. I'm going to log out so we can see that whole process. So we'll type in CAP for that login. And let's just grab this password so I don't have to type it. And we'll paste it in. We've got the show hide password functionality here. And once we sign in, it'll prompt the user to change their password. So let's go ahead and set up a new password. Let's see if I'm competent at typing today. All right, now my passwords match. I can see my requirements down here, so it should be nice and simple to set up a password for my account. And once I hit save, I can now see my profile. I can update my information here so that I can make sure the store always has accurate information about how to contact me. And I can just go into my account and start viewing what the store has set up for me. Any questions about that process? All righty. Let's take a look at our consignor messages. This is a really cool feature. It's a great way to kind of like have an online bulletin board for your consignors. So if you go into settings, options, consignor access, you can go to consignor messages. And in here, you'll see that we have a variety of messages that will automatically send or post on their profile if any of these actions have recently occurred in their account. You can set up your own custom messages. These will not have event triggers, but they will display all the time based off of what you post. So it's this time of year. Let's do fall consignment and say new message text. We're going to say, we are now accepting fall and winter items. Drop off days are Monday through Friday. Let's do 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Whatever message is relevant for your store, you can enter whatever you'd like here. You want to make sure that you mark that message as active. And if you want it to automatically expire, say if we wanted to stop accepting fall and winter in, I don't know, let's say February 1st, we can do that. And then we can also pin it to the top so that if we have multiple messages, it always stays at the top. Once we've done all of that, if we come back here and do a little refresh, we can see that message is now displayed. Ooh, another good question from Christy here. Any plans to add an option to have notifications sent automatically by email to consignors based on activity in their account, sold items, change to in-grace status, etc.? The answer to that question is yes, we've been doing research around those ideas. We are actually, not to get ahead of myself here, preparing to launch a revitalized version of Consignor Access. Essentially, we are updating the kind of the foundation of our Consignor Access platform, making sure that it is up to date, easy to work in. And along with those changes, makes it easier for our team to make improvements to this feature set as a whole. So we have a whole host of things planned, and that is on the list of things that we are researching to improve upon. So I can't give you a timeline on when it'll be available, but I can tell you that that is very much in the vein of changes that we are exploring. So we're very excited to share that with you. We're not quite there yet, but we're getting close. Let's see, Julie is asking, does a consignor get notified when an item is sold, or they have to just keep checking their consignment account? They do not get notified. They will have to log in and view their account. They would then be able to see that information on the activity page or through a status change on the items page. It's a good question, Julie. But that goes right hand in hand with what Christy was asking above about notifications. And like I said, that's something that we're exploring. As a product team, we have interviewed hundreds of vendors and consignors and people who use Consignor Access. We've gotten a lot of feedback about the pros and cons of this platform. And we've been doing research and doing behind the scenes changes in order to improve that process for y'all. All right. So about onboarding consignors onto this platform, you don't want to have to click into everyone's account in order to see whether they have Consignor Access enabled and all of that. So what you can do instead is you can build a custom report. And so you can do a custom consignor report. You can see I've already got one built here. So you just come in and you search for the type of report you want. And then you add your fields, so the information you want to see, and your filters for how you want to restrict the information. And you can see who has Consignor Access enabled versus not. If we wanted to further restrict it, we could do Consignor Access is true and see everyone who has it enabled, or false and see everyone who does not. And now we would know that we'd be able to go and talk to these people and get them connected. All right, I see we have a couple more questions here. If an item is put in grace or expired and the item hasn't been pulled from the floor yet and sells, will the item come up in checkout? Yes, it will. If the item is in grace or expired, it will pull up in checkout and the money will go to the consignor still. If it is in converted status, the money will go to the store because it has become store property. Can their portal be linked to your website? How do they access it? Just the initial email. So when you set up your Consignor Access account, you get a URL and you can choose what you want it to be. It's going to be whatever you put in this box followed by .consignoraccess.com. So on your website, you can put a link or a button to go to this URL. So you can access it directly using kaylin.consignoraccess.com for my test store. And yes, that email that is initially sent out is a way that you can get them logged in that initial time, but they should get in a habit of either going to your website, which is good traffic for you, or they can bookmark the URL to go there directly. And if they ever get confused, they can always go to consignoraccess.com and they can find their store as well. Good questions. All right. So in the Pro plan of Consignor Access, like I mentioned earlier, for vendor mall style stores, or we've seen this with like sneaker stores and such as well, you have these additional options for consignors, or vendors as they're often called in that business model, where you can allow each individual account permissions to add, edit, withdraw, and print their own inventory. The print functionality is available via an add-on for the Pro plan, but these add, edit, and withdraw options are included with the Pro plan. And this enables the consignors or vendors to enter their own inventory and essentially be in control of their own items. One of the things that we are improving in the Consignor Access update is this is the current item entry screen. And this allows people to enter a single item at a time. And then so they do, let's do an item. Let's do test. We're going to do $10. I'm just using tab to navigate through here, which you can also do when entering inventory on the store side. And say that's all the information I wanted to enter. I'll hit save and close. And then I can add another item. This has served our consignors and vendors perfectly well for a number of years. However, a more efficient solution has been found in inventory batch entry, which allows for restocking of inventory as well as entering inventory at multiple locations. So if I do a test item, I can choose my category, and you'll see the fields change based off of my category settings. I can enter whatever information I want. And then when I hit create, when I expand this item, I now have the option to enter quantity and price in my 2 Pro locations that this account has access to. So this is great for multi-location vendor mall stores. And you can set a default quantity and a default price in case you want that same quantity and same price distributed to all of the locations. So for any vendor mall style stores we have, this option will be one of the improvements or changes that we make in that new Consignor Access version. A little bit of a sneak peek. Any questions about Consignor Access? I'm going to go ahead and flip us over and make sure all of our settings are configured for a traditional consignment store, so we can see what that looks like. Let's do basic. Maybe we don't want to show those, but we do want to show these. Let's turn these off. Save and exit. And now when we come back, now you can see that this is trimmed down. And when we go to the activity screen, restricted information, you can choose, it'll default to the current pay period, but you can do year to date, whichever option you want. And if you've received a payout, or the consignors received a payout, they can choose whether they want to show the items that have been reconciled, already paid out or not. Again, it does not show the amount that the item sold for, just the amount that the consignor received. And on the items page in basic as well, basic level of detail, it does not show that the amount the item is listed for. They can view their whole inventory status or a list if they'd like, or they can come in here and view their in grace status items specifically. Don't have any in this test account, but I do have some active status items. And then if you have a contract configured for your consignor, they can view it here. And then everywhere, they'll always be able to view our What's New page, just like you can in SimpleConsign. One of the other features that this connects to is the drop-off scheduler. So you can see I have the option to schedule an appointment, and this will take you to the calendar where you can schedule that. That is a different feature, but we can, if that's of interest, we can do a webinar about that if people would like to learn more about it. And then for any consignors that are at a multi-location company, you can click up here and choose which location that they want to view their data for. At any location that they have Consignor Access turned on and it's available for that store's plan. So in summary, Consignor Access is our online portal used for both traditional consignment stores and vendor mall, antique mall style stores. It is available on the standard plan and the pro plan. The primary difference between the two being the vendor mall options for being able to add, edit, withdraw inventory, and print your own labels with an add-on. And you have a lot of customization options. We improved those in the last year or so for what information displays for your consignors. We do have future improvements on the Consignor Access platform planned and currently in development. We'll reveal more information about those as we get closer to being able to release them. If you are interested in being on our alpha or beta testing list, feel free to reach out to me after the webinar. My email is kaylinl@SimpleConsign. I'll post that in chat for easy access. So if you want to be on the cutting edge and test stuff with us, feel free to reach out. And we've covered how to set up your Consignor Access account and how to send invites, how to get everyone logged in for that initial login and set their password. And I see I have a new question. We have 2 calendars created for scheduling, one for new and one for existing. Can we choose the calendar to link in here? Yes, you can. So the option will be under settings. Let's see if I can remember where this one is. Settings. Under scheduling drop-off, you can put in your scheduling link right here. And you can change the name of the button, and this will display in Consignor Access. Good question. So you can link one calendar in Consignor Access, and that is how you determine which link will be displayed there. All right. Any other last minute questions? I know I always think of some just as I'm getting ready to leave.
I'll also include Kaylin's email in the follow-up email in case anyone misses it here.
Perfect. Thank you, Caroline.
Of course.
All right. Well, I wish you all a very happy fall season, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of the fun activities and events y'all do as we get closer to the holiday season.
Thanks, Kaylin, and thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for attending.
Thank you.
See